Hi everybody. In this video we want to talk about something called a list. L-I-S-T. In other programming languages we call this tool an array. Now a list or an array is a tool used to hold multiple values of the same data type. So up until now, if you wanted to keep track of 3 scores that a student had, you would just create 3 variables. But what happens if he had 10 scores or 20 scores or 30 scores? That would get awful tough creating 30 different variables. Well, we have a tool called list, L-I-S-T, that can solve the problem for us. Now, in order to do this little project here, we need to go to the variable section and we need to make a variable, 3 of them. One of them is index, another one is list scores, and another one is num scores. These are the 3 variables we need to do this little assignment. Index, list scores, and num scores. Now, over here we have our list. And in this case, I have 3 values in it. I have a 6 in position 1, a 7 in position 2, and an 8 in position 3. The length of this list is 3. Okay, and this one here is the index for the 6, this 2 is the index or position for the 7, and this 3 is the index or position for the 8. Okay, so how's it going to work? Let's do it together. We've got our 3 variables, index, list scores, and num scores, and I'm going to go to control and I'm going to say when the green hat or when the green flag is clicked. Now I need to go to sensing and say, hey, how many scores do you have? So ask, how many scores, okay, do you have? Now you know the answer is going to go into blue answer. Okay, so now I'm going to go to variables and I'm going to set num scores to blue answer. Okay, now what I'm going to do is go back to variables and I want to set list scores right here to an empty list. And under the variables section, anything in kind of red here, I guess, anything in red would be pertaining to a list. So I'm going to set list scores to an empty list. Okay, now list scores is pointing to my array, my list. There's nothing in it now. And then I need to set index to 1. Okay, so now I'm going to have whatever the user responded, that many scores. So I need to ask some questions. So how about if I go back to control and I find a repeat? Okay, how many questions are you going to ask? I think I'm going to repeat, go back to variables, num scores. Okay, that's how many times I need to ask the question. Repeat num scores. Whoops, I keep making a mistake there. Sorry about that. Let me get it. I'll get it. There it is. Repeat num scores. Okay, now I need to ask a question. So I'm going to say ask, enter a score. Enter a score. Now where's it going to go? In the blue answer. So what do I do with that? Okay, go back to variables and go to insert. Find insert, it's at the very bottom, and I apologize, you guys can't see it, it's off the screen, but I want to come down here at the very bottom, it's about 4 things below combine, and I want to insert. I want to insert blue answer. Well, where? At index. At index, let's go back up here and get index. At index of what? Okay, of list scores. That was the tough line. So whatever the user responds, I insert that response, that answer at position index of list scores. And then I have to make sure that I change, okay, I want to change index by 1. Okay, now let's go ahead and run through this code. So let me go ahead and let's go ahead and click the green flag. How many scores? I have 4 scores. Enter a score, 8. It's going to go into position 1. Now I have to change index by 1 and loop back. Enter a score. I'm going to say 3. 3 goes into position 2. Now I have to change index by 1, so now index is at 3. Goes back for the 3rd score. Enter a score, 7. I have to change index by 1, loop back for the 4th time. I'm going to say a 2. And I have now entered, okay, my 4 scores. But I've got a little problem. I've got an empty box here, right? An empty box. So here's what I'm going to suggest you guys do. There is a delete, okay, a delete. And we're going to pull this up, delete, and we're going to delete index. This is going to get rid of that box there. Delete index of list scores. We're going to do this again. Okay, and now I'm only going to say I have 3 scores. So I'm going to say a 6, a 7, and an 8. And now you'll notice there's no extra box in here because this line of code right here deleted it. Now let's walk through this one more time, okay? I have 3 variables: index, list scores, num scores. Index controls where I am in the list. List scores is the name of my list. And num scores is how many scores I'm going to put in the list. All right, when the green flag is clicked, how many scores? I said 3. I set num scores to 3. Now I set list scores right here to an empty list. You'll get that empty list down here under the variable section. And I set index to 1 because I knew when I first started to put scores into the list, I want them to start at position 1. All right, repeat. How many scores? 3. Ask, enter a score. I said 6. 6 went in the blue answer. I insert 6 at 1 of list scores. Now I change index by 1. Index is now 2. I loop back for the 2nd time. Enter a score. I said 7. It went in the blue answer. Insert a 7 at position 2 of list scores. Now I change index by 1. Now it's 3. I loop back a 3rd time. Ask, enter a score. I said 8. 8 went in the blue answer. Insert the 8 at 3 of list scores right here. I change index by 1. And, I don't loop back because I've already done it 3 times. Now I delete index. I delete index of list scores. I got rid of the extra box. Okay guys, this is how you fill a list or you fill an array.